Predictions for USA 2022. What do I see for USA in 2022? Even though it is 2022 prediction, it follows through from 2021. That means you will start seeing 2022 events unfolding in 2021. For instance, in USA 2020 video, I mentioned crisis involving money. This time, the crisis would come from Congress. That was the reading for 2020. What happened in July 2020? The extended unemployment benefits expired along with the eviction moratorium, and the people were in a state of crisis caused by Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell. The politicians could not agree on the second stimulus package. This brought about yet another shock to the economy. Nancy Pelosi called for a special session to fund the post office, but not the stimulus package. President signed an executive order to halt evictions, but no money yet. Now, the Congress has moved to avoid government shutdown. Sound familiar? That's why the title of USA 2020 is Deja Vu. This is the crisis revealed in the 2020 chart of the US. And now we're going into 2021, and then part of that 2021, you will start seeing the 2022 unfold. So at this recording, the Dow, S&P, NASDAQ made all-time highs and has corrected. Greed is as high as can be in speculative markets, and everyone is waiting to get in on a dip. Meanwhile, the people's financial crisis still continues. That is why it is important to anticipate the annual shift in sentiment and focus. Some event or events trigger the next event. If you like this kind of information, please don't forget to subscribe. In 2022, health, human services, new job creation, liability insurance, unemployment insurance, healthcare insurance, Social Security, Medicare, pension, liability, funding employee benefits, war, and reorganization of debts are what the nation will tackle. The latter is very important because this reorganization brings about stability in the markets. In fact, this is not a bull market. It's a reorganized market. The government is deeply involved, and exchanges could be stabilized through digitization or regulation. I think the U.S. avoids spike in electricity. It's weird because electricity plays a big role in 2021, but the U.S. somehow bypasses this. However, technological transformation occurs in the stock market, and the funding operations like the repo facility or some other of such kind are ameliorated. I'm not sure if we are converting to the digital currency, but the technological transformation is all for money and banking. Are we turning in our cash? Maybe. Energy, semiconductor, military, weapons, and construction, along with commodities such as metals, are the growth sectors in 2022 for the U.S. The focus is on the labor-intensive sectors. I posted China 2022 Ace in the Hole is the title. I see digitization of the money and banking there. China is swimming in money. That's what I said. Their banks have money, but our banks don't, and our money is going out. I see digitization and reorganization of the U.S. stock exchanges and debt, but the banking sector is still having problems with the housing sector trying to come out of the difficulties. So, does that mean our money goes out to bail out the banks and businesses? Or are we going to go back to importing more stuff? I don't think the latter is the case. However, I'm only reading for 2022 right now. I have to chew on this one a bit longer because I can't seem to connect the dots yet. Is this because we have decoupled from China? I'm not sure. I guess I'm trying to figure out why China and their banks have so much money. They come into sudden abundance of money. Are they going to successfully sell big chunk of their U.S. bond holdings? Is that how they will burst the bubble in the U.S. markets that our government has to get involved? Again, these are just the questions that I haven't fully figured out. So let me just say that this is how I am analyzing 2022. War with China has to end sometime. I don't think we are going to drag this out. China has digitized their currency and they are flush with cash. First of all, that government has deliberately created a bubble in their market in 2021. However, they also have a way out should it burst. There is crisis in their real estate market, natural disaster or some other catastrophe, and a revolt could happen. The leader could also retire too. Just saying. This crisis could require an increase in liquidity and the banks need to extend credit or the government deposits money into the people's account to avoid impending catastrophe. They sell the U.S. bond holdings, which then triggers the bubble to burst in the U.S. market. They have already successfully trimmed their holdings of the U.S. bonds in 2020. Their market actually does well, certainly better than the U.S. despite their crisis. That could be what causes the U.S. market to become bearish as investors put money into China. That's probably why Warren Buffett invested in old Japanese trading companies, like Itochu, Marubeni Mitsui, and others. Let me also interject that Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe announced his resignation right after the Republican convention. Yes, although the Prime Minister resigned for health reasons, I think he knew he would not be able to appease the U.S. and dissuade the recalcitrant conglomerates. The conglomerates cannot give up Chinese markets without a replacement. This is my analysis of how events in 2021 will carry over into 2022 in the U.S. I could be wrong, but again, this is my speculative analysis. Let's move on. Let's start with speculation or taking chances. In or with what? War, relationship, and higher education. Let's talk about the role of education. Philosophy, legitimacy are a few that comes to my mind. These topics will stay with us or influence us, not just the U.S., but the rest of the world as well as for the next 2.5 years. That's how long it will take for us to reconstruct a new society or a new order. War is a speculative venture and usually stems from philosophical differences. Philosophy binds a society and religion is philosophy. Communism rejects religion and America is all about Christianity. At the end of the day, religion is money. Just look at the Vatican and the megachurches. I've actually seen the opulence of the Vatican City, and I've watched the missionaries pass in the money plates in their megachurches. How well you do in life depends on how much you tithe. That's not any different from the NBA or Disney desiring the Chinese market of 1.4 billion people. Products and services are different. But whether you're selling religious services and products or shows, you are conducting a commercial service or services when money changes hands. They're all in it to make money. Otherwise, all of them will not survive. For the Chinese, this is deja vu all over again. The Europeans and the Japanese are back in China again. However, China has cleverly outmaneuvered the West this time around. They own assets in other countries. There's a book widely talked about, especially in Japan. It's titled Silent Invasion by Clive Hamilton. He discovered that China owns a substantial portion of Australia's economy, including the water they drink and even the members of the Australian Parliament. China practically owns Australia. Scott Morrison, the current Prime Minister, is taking back his country. In America, China bought Smithfield Foods, but as long as they do not own what our lives depend on, I wouldn't be alarmed. I hope there are no Manchurian candidates in our Congress. America wants to decouple from China and go back to the Cold War style relationship. We are going to decouple for self-preservation. This is the American reset. We will re-educate the people who forgot what democracy and capitalism is all about. That is what will happen in 2021 going into 2022. China is a big market, and we will need to get into that market. So what's the problem? The problem is, will they play by our rules? And we all know that. They haven't. That market cannot be conquered easily like in the past. That's what this is about. You may want to go back and read Pearl Buck's The Good Earth. In my past videos, I've already mentioned that the U.S. government is undergoing a revolutionary change. That revolution is already underway in this year, 2021-2022. Watch the video, Deja Vu, USA 2021. At this recording, the Cultural Revolution has landed in the U.S. So ask yourself how this Cultural Revolution occurred in the U.S. and how is it changing the country. Did Trump discover a silent invasion? And is this why he is trying to end the trade relations with China? To talk about Cultural Revolution, we need to look back to Stalin's Russia and Mao's China. Both are communist societies. In both Russia and China, to create a new society, the existing social order had to be dismantled. People had to be re-educated. How? Art, theater, cinema, literature had to be completely destroyed. Lots of statues came down or were destroyed as a result. To build a new society, new art, new theater, and new literature had to be created. Existing religion had to be banned and replaced by the new philosophy. Mao turned the youth into the famous Red Guards, who eventually found themselves in many schools to brainwash other youth and went out and destroyed art, ransacked museums, and eradicated anything that was part of the old China. Sound familiar? The destruction of statues by the mob. Stalin was extremely brutal in transforming Russia. However, there was a redeeming future, though born out of blood and gore. The graphic arts was born. Even music was created to suit the politics, and although I've read that Beethoven was the only acceptable composer from the past, Dmitri Shostakovich, the Soviet-era composer, became prominent. Keep in mind that protests are based on philosophical differences. It's not about who's right or wrong in this context, but who wins or loses. Hence, this is about speculation, and of course China and Russia play a role because their communist system endured also. We are struggling to keep capitalism and democracy alive. We are going back to the basics of what made America so successful or endure its success into the 21st century. In 2021-22, Americans are turning to education, or by now have turned to higher education of practical skills. America is retooling and educating its people for employment. The new work environment is already in place. The pandemic has organized the workplace. The environment is flexible or more enjoyable. There's a lot of flexibility. Workloads could be shared with coworkers. It could be that there is more freedom with time. There are incentives and rewards, many opportunities for fast advancement and on-the-job training. However, wages and benefits might not be as lucrative as at this stage, and for some the benefits are great, but accumulated debt could be a burden. Americans are not swimming in money. Rather, their money is going out paying taxes, debts, or whatever. For instance, many will have to spend money on professional advisors, such as lawyers, accountants, or others, to discharge debt or hire legal representation. People's health is improved in many cases, but there could be a problem with overindulgence, not necessarily with food, but with drugs, addictions, physical activities, and secret surveillances. It's possible that we can get chips in our body. Just saying. The government's focus is on labor, health, public service or services, and reorganizing debt we've accumulated, and that comes through the reorganization of the exchanges or the market system. Now, how do we go about doing this? I said legitimization earlier, or that also means legalization. Laws are created. I see employment expansion in armed forces, police, hospitals, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, arms, constructions, rails, semiconductors, or the related industries, glass, film, health and human services, water, corporations, spy organizations, cyber or otherwise, and special clothing, headgears, and shoes manufacturing, and also the government sector. That's where you will see one of the biggest employment growth. The focus will be on health and employment, but many Americans will move far from where they currently live. They become modern-day gypsies. If you remember my USA 2021, I specifically mentioned the energy sector. Yes, the energy sector seems to be hiring people. There are more, but these are some sectors. Trying to put a lot of people to work could be a problem too. When the pandemic hit the US, the enemy could have taken a chance or speculated that it's time to take down the US, but didn't turn out that way. The founding fathers did a spectacular job in picking the most auspicious date and location for the birth chart of the USA. I absolutely love the USA birth chart. You really can't go wrong betting on the US. However, even this fortunate country will go through hard times. The cost of putting people back to work requires indebtedness. But this year, America is outward looking. Even the schools could move outside. They're just outward. I guess the lockdowns really gave them cabin fever. People are definitely mobile, and many will move out to distant places. Probably got sick and tired of distance. Let's talk about relationships. This topic becomes very important this year or during the 2021-22 period. Why? Social distancing, social media, and again, that word philosophy comes into play, is the biggest influencer. There will be relationship difficulties. It is no longer boy meets girl, gut reactions, and blissful responses. This is not about marriage, although marriage is not excluded. Difficulties arise from dream versus reality. There may be guidelines to professional business relationships. Relationship issues pop up, especially when foreigners or foreign workers are part of the equation. Distancing and long distance dialogues over the phone or video could be a problem because of lack of intimacy and not being able to say, just between you and me, the way we used to in the past. It's email, phone, text, or video. These are all detached communications. Relationship classes could be popular. It doesn't have to be intimate. It could be professional, but we have to learn the ethics. Again, somehow some rules are going to be created. The new important part, the next important part of this year is real estate. It's very likely that the value of real estate will not increase. Many homeowners may have to spend money to move a piece of property. Many properties are abandoned or in need of physical repair or debt repair. Creative financing could be a solution or the solution. Commercial mortgages, agricultural mortgages, and multi-units could undergo difficulties. The stock market is slow and volatile. I think the companies have to restructure debt. The client milieu seems to have also changed. Either the markets or the physical changes take place. The government regulation or regulations could change the structure, and that could be why changes are inevitable. There could be technological or even power source changes that could happen. Revolutionary changes are expected. For instance, the platform or the computer system may have to undergo change to protect traders and investors from severe crashes and manipulations that could end up in uncontrollable panics. There could be unexpected crashes that slows the system down. In any case, modernization or reorganization could be highly probable, and that could cause interruptions. Technological changes are at the heart of all this. For the traders and investors, reality could be stark or too structured. For those who were expecting tech stocks to make fast moves could possibly face a conservative reality. This could turn into a constructively bearish market trend. This could be largely due to companies and governments trying to eliminate or discharge existing debt, bond, treasury, or anything they owe. I think the Fed, Treasury had to be able to respond to market aberrations quickly or discern it mechanically in advance. Therefore, the new technological changes may have to be inevitable. I see big disruptions in the actual stock exchanges that would affect the market. Let's turn to other government bodies. To say that Congress, Fed, and Treasury possess erroneously impractical needs and beliefs that need to be confronted or legally challenged and eliminated could be an understatement. All of them need to be on the same page when it comes to health, armed forces, homeland security, law, antitrust or otherwise, advertising, social media, and foreign policy, and some others. Remember, this year we are looking outward and dealing with foreign competition. Yes, therefore, war or conflict with our enemy or competition is still occurring. Now is the time to deal with unresolved issues, even though they have lain dormant for many years. Time is running out. Time is of the essence. Here we have the spirit of competition spurring us into action, and that I'll show you mindset comes out. The competition or the enemy is weary, desperate, and now at the end of the road. I guess that's when it is time to strike. America is focused on winning this competition or war. Let's look at the leader of the government. He is committed to his mission or goal. This country has assembled its friends or allies, such as Japan, UK, India, Australia, Canada, and others. India, I think, has the fourth largest military, and I guess they are going to be one of the major players. This year is about emotionally detached relationships, so the closeness could fluctuate. I guess that's keeping the social distance. It is best not to appear unpredictable, otherwise, others will feel threatened. Our leader is emotionally charged, in uniform or not. He is not out in the open as before. The president dominated the media before. This applies to whomever reigns over the nation as head of the country. This year, he is the only one who's playing his card close to his chest. Someone else is focused on the relationship. Everyone else is focused on the, everyone else is focused on the relationship or war or legal battles. This conflict or contentious event could be about legislation, trial, or testimony and legalization, or legitimate or making things legitimate. For something like this, a court order could be needed. People can win awards such as Pulitzer, athletic awards, Nobel Prize, scholarship, legal, and even citizenship awards. Licensing, copyrights, patents, and intellectual property rights are legal awards. When we say legal, look at what's happening at the Supreme Court or the Supreme Court level. Maybe new judges will be appointed. Legalizations, immigrations, cultural and racial controversies will continue. This year is about taking chances to win. Something that is major and would affect the tech world is the power grid. Things will move so fast that the public might not even see it. However, 5G, AI, and tech cannot happen without energy. That could be the reason why the energy sector sees a boom. In the US, if the US is powering its military, energy is needed to fuel AI, artificial intelligence. Digital currency and data mining will require a tremendous amount of energy. Digital currency is going to be necessary. We will get a glimpse of the surge in techs and energy starting in December 2020. Although Republicans talk about small government, the reality is that the government will grow very suddenly. Like the pandemic, they couldn't gauge it. The government really does not see how much services they have to perform or offer. People running the government are humans. It's not their fault that things happen the way they do. They don't really control what comes from above. Electricity could be expensive as the country steps into the fourth revolution. The robots are forced upon us. War is no longer fought the way it was back in World War I to World War II or even in the Iraq War. Many of you saw the Gundam robots that are as big as Godzilla. The wars require technology and energy. Armed forces, whether police or military, will increase. Guns will increase too. Pharmaceutical drugs as well as marijuana or cannabis and distilleries will likely see growth. I see the cyclical sector growing. What will also happen is that the government will truly go through reorganization or modernization. It is electrifying. Let's say it's technologically electrifying, and that's why I said the economy is growing. I wouldn't be surprised to see the commander-in-chief in uniform of some sort. Maybe he wears a uniform and visits the troops a lot or in the hospitals. Many people will be mobile, and the demographic shifts could be unprecedented. People are becoming expats living abroad, modern day gypsies or bohemians wandering the globe. Since many of them have experienced joblessness, evictions, and uncertainties of life, instead of cars, RVs are preferred because you have a mortgage-free place to live and move as needed. There will be lots of new industries and new businesses. A lot of these work tend to be male oriented or require lots of young energetic people, entrepreneurs, independent workers, or mechanically minded workers. I really cannot imagine manufacturing semiconductors in the US, but it is very possible that could happen. After all, Trump is trying to take back the semiconductor industry away from the Chinese syndicate. Although I heard that North Korea is where the semiconductor conductors are being manufactured. I guess that's why we're not getting a lot of attacks from North Korea. Construction and manufacturing will likely expand. Whether it's the energy grid, weapons manufacturing, data mining, or other digital technology applications such as in the health sector, jobs will be expanded. Cruise and film industry will likely see employment growth. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit that like